This video is on the Pisces male. I'm a love astrologer. My name's Lucy, and if you want to check out my links and shop and stuff and live stream readings, you can do so in the bio. This is a series that I want to cover on understanding the Pisces male. And there's going to be a lot of different layers to this series. All right, so let's get started. This one is understanding Pisces males in general. There's going to be more descriptive things as we divide it by the decan, and we're going to get into different themes regarding Pisces in other in this series, but like in sections of it. So attraction, romance, honing in on things like that. And this one is just kind of like touching on highlights about Pisces men in general. Now, I want to say this before we start. When I refer to Pisces males or any of the other zodiac series I'm going to be going through, this is going to encompass all the sun, moon, and rising or a stellium. So it's prominently going to be when a person has Pisces as a sun. So this is a male that is a sun sign Pisces. This, when they have it as the rising, a great deal of what I say will be covered in the rising, so it will trigger that in their personality. But the rising will have unique qualities of what's most dominant of all the Pisces traits versus what in the sun sign. Everything that I'm saying is valid for the sun sign. The rising, it's going to be a very large portion of it that's applicable. And then the moon, some aspects of what I'm saying will definitely be Pisces moon for the male, and may or may not be triggered if a man has a Pisces stellium. Some of these may find their way activated and some not. So again, it's mainly sun and rising where I'm referring to, with portions of it being moon and portions of it being stellium. I'm not referring to the big six. So if you have if you're a man who has Pisces in your big six or anything else in the chart, this does not apply in that way. All right. So the first thing that I want to talk about is when a Pisces male is growing up and straight on teenagehood into early adulthood into manhood and all of that. The ebb and flow of their life, they don't really stress too much about what they're going to be or goals, or there are some zodiac signs that the men in those signs really stress almost like daily. What am I going to do? What am I going to be? Oh my God, I have to figure it out. Not a Pisces male. They have goals and stuff, but they have this this flow that they have, where they're not really stressed about it. They have this inner feeling of it's gonna work out, or they have this inner feeling of this is gonna happen, like I'm chill right now, it'll happen when it happens. And they kind of have that attitude. You don't feel that stress coming from a Pisces male. Now, when it comes to love, every man involved with a female, yes, obviously, if a person is involved in a partnership, a romance with someone who's toxic, that's terrible for any human being. But with a Pisces, it's very critical. It's super critical because, that's my cat meowing. It's super critical because if they get with someone who's very, very toxic, there's more damage to their life and their inner person than other signs. They're so delicate and so impressionable and so susceptible to all kinds of, for example, if a guy is with a toxic woman, it messes up either his pocket, his credit, or his headspace for a while. But they some of them, it's traumatic, and some of them can shake it off, but eventually they shake it off. With a Pisces, it's damaging so deep, it cuts deeper. It's just a delicate nature that they have about them, where they can't for example, let's take a Sagittarius or a Capricorn. They don't deserve anything toxic. They know nobody does, but they have this resilience. It's different. It's different. They can just take that chapter of their life and say, okay, you know what? That's it. Where a Pisces, like, it's so overwhelming that depending on how bad it is, it's more damaging. It's hard to explain, but it's just, I wanted to mention that in passing anyway, in this series, because that's important. So one of the things, when I was saying that they have this, ebb and flow to them, that they don't really get super stressed out on what their future outlook is. They kind of have this inner knowing. They go with the flow, and they'll get there when they get there. Not that they're laid back or lazy, but they have this smooth quality. You just don't feel that stress. Well, the other part is, if they get with someone who's very toxic, let's say a gold digger, or someone who's just money, or if they get with a female that just stresses them and drains them too much, what'll happen is then they live higher levels of stress. It can even affect their health in many ways. Not only their mental health, but their physical health can suffer if they're in a toxic relationship. It's not that other males of other signs don't suffer if they're in a toxic relationship, but for a Pisces, it's more damaging, not only mentally, but physically as well. You'll see that they'll have ailments and issues with health deteriorating. They will deteriorate really fast in toxic relationships. They can't handle it. Now, let's go over the part where, when he is, this is more like a career observation. Let's say that when the Pisces male is looking for, a career, there's always an element of creativity that they yearn for, because they are very, very creative. They have this need for, obviously a person has to be born an artist to be an artist. But all Pisces men have this unspoken of creativity that's within them. Some will do something with it, some will not. Some are actually born and destined to create art in different forms, whether that's literature, poetry, music. Just because someone is born into a sign doesn't make them this or that. But the sign has this sprinkled energy that they give the person. It bestows it. That planet, that luminary will bestow it on that person in some way. So it's kind of like embedded in who they are, embedded in what they love, is this inner creativity. And they seek it out. They do have to be creative in some way, whether that's going to end up being an official fine art body of work or not. It's still part of them. They still unwind with music like no other sign. And it's crazy because not, saying, oh, well, then just Pisces, then they're the only ones that, are therapeutic with music. No, that's not true. Anybody music is the most purest form of art. It has no boundary, even if Beethoven can tell you that. I mean, even when a person is deaf, the vibrations of music is felt in the body, the rhythm. There's no language barrier. You can listen to a song in any language, no matter what it is, and the music still moves you. So it's boundless. It's the purest form of art. It's so abstract, and it speaks to everyone in the world, right? Just like mathematics. So this is why it's so pure. And music was born in Pisces. So all Pisces, whether it's female or male, no matter where you have it in your identities, sun, moon, rising, or stellium, music is the food for Pisces, no matter what. Whether you are born to be a musician in your destiny or not, there's still something very medicinal about music in Pisces. So a Pisces male will also need music to do some inner healing, and it's interesting how they recharge with it, whereas other signs will enjoy the music. They will reap the benefits of music. But Pisces, it becomes a medicine, whether they know it or not. Okay, now there could be super talented musicians and producers of music in any sign, because that's a mark on a person's destiny. It's not about a sign. It's just that music becomes medicinal to a Pisces, sun, moon, rising, or stellium. Okay, all right. The next thing that I want to shine a light on here is when they are growing up and they are understanding a little bit more. So say beginning of puberty to about early adulthood, in that range of time, especially the teen years. Pisces men go through difficult psychological and emotional situations where in their development, where when they make guy friends, they go through this phase where they start to say, do I like their attributes and I want them as my own? They could get lost. That's why to any female that's raising a Pisces male as their child, as this Pisces male grows and develops, it's incredibly important to pay attention to their friends, their crowd, what they're exposed to. If a Pisces male has a mom that just is very laissez-faire and just doesn't monitor, what they're looking at on the computer or whatever, Pisces can get lost. They can either travel into areas they shouldn't because they're artistic, they're creative. They might go through a phase where they're more macabre and drawn to the darker side of life. Maybe they're drawn to certain type of, taboo stories. They're curious. They can, because they have this artistic, creative nature, they can have a tendency to, gravitate towards friendships that are a little bit like people that are very shady characters, because Pisces is drawn to the darker side of things. And this is where we're gonna talk more about, Pisces and Scorpio and even Cancer, where the water signs, we're gonna talk about that, because that's interesting what the water signs share when it comes to that. But anyway, Pisces is drawn to the underground, the darker side of things, and they can get into some dangers without even trying. It's just something they're like, ooh, let's go this way, the curiosity. So the whole point is that the fish are swimming in a very different direction, and this can cause a turbulence in the water. And the water can go and take the undertow and take the Pisces to an area of dark waters where they can drown. They can wander too far and get lost. So this is the same thing with being drawn to experimentally substances. They can easily try things they shouldn't. It's not saying that other signs cannot be susceptible to those things, obviously. But Pisces itself has to be careful with addiction. They have to be careful not to trigger that, to just come out of that part of their upbringing unscathed and have a lot of rigid upbringing, which is funny because male Pisces run the show. They're the pretty boy at home, mama's baby. And they can just do whatever they want, and they can just go here, go there, and they're the love baby boy. So and they could be gone for 3 days as an adult, and it's fine, adult, so young adult, where they think they can just do it all because they're of legal age. No, there's even parenting at that age as well. This is the most dangerous part of upbringing, because this is the part where they can go and end up with the wrong woman, and then the woman takes everything that they own. This is the part where they get into danger and start having kids with the wrong woman, then have baby mama drama and all of that. So if you think that your parenting's done at 18 or 21, hell no. This is the part to be very rigid. This is what the fruit of what you've brought up. This is a time to say, okay, now I'm going to carefully, you're like out of the nest, but like I'm watching you just for maintenance for a couple more years, and then you're on your own. So like, but this is a time where they can F up everything that you've trained them to do. They could blow their college fund on a car. They can decide, oh, I'm just going to do this, and throw caution to the wind. So it's very important when you are, really, really trying to fine tune that Pisces male. This is the most important time where in the early 20s, they can really F up badly. And that's why you want to be, very hone in on it and have some rules. But it's very hard because Pisces destiny and their karma is that they pretty much, well, it depends on the cusp. If they're a pure Pisces sun, versus when they're getting into the other areas of, that's why you have to really divide it into a range. So if they're still a Pisces, but they are already, the sign is shifting to the next one or has just recently shifted into Pisces, they're going to have a lot of this be dominant, but some can be washed out because they can have attributes from the next sign, which in general, every zodiac sign, sun sign, does have trickles no matter what decan, where you do have a little touch of the sign before and a little touch of the sign after. But it's when you're born in the shifts timing zone that's when it can really wash out some of the other dominant traits of Pisces. But in general, you want to use this as a golden rule. So in the making of friends, and in this time where he's very, very impressionable and he's making really good male friends, so tween, teen, early adult, more in the teen, okay, they will look at each friendship and kind of go through a sense of maybe getting lost. Do I want to be like this? They will try to put on, where Cancer will experiment with character, right? Because acting was born in Cancer, theater was born in Cancer, mimicking and behaviors, role play was born in Cancer. So the experimentation of these things are very Cancer, but with Pisces, it's felt internally. So they can internally feel the character, which is why, the ability to suspend disbelief and to fit into the experience of a song or the experience of a movie is very Pisces. I'm going to internalize the artistic experience. Whereas Libra will create the atmosphere that makes the art, and Leo will kind of like embellish and appreciate and understand the art in its art form, the admiration of the art, the interpretation of the art, where Libra will set up the art atmosphere. It is really Pisces that, and Cancer will, carve the lines that are creating where it's going, the concept of the art itself, and Pisces is the feeling of what made the art be created. So if you're understanding artistic development, it would be those signs: Pisces, Cancer, Libra, and Leo. And those are the dominating signs for art, in understanding how art came into the world for men, according to the you know, the history of man according to astrology. So the development of man according to astrology, okay? So, but that's getting into the more mythological side to astrology. Let's stick to the Pisces. Let's go back into Pisces. So around this time when he's making friends, he might say, I really admire this friend of mine. I want to be like him. I want his haircut. I want to have hair like him. No, I want to dress like him. Wait a minute. Like, I'm admiring his clothes and stuff. Does that mean I could like him? No, it's not that. No, that's, do I? No, it's weird. Is it weird? Am I liking his outfit? Like, should I? Is it because I want to be like him? Wait, I'm lost. Wait, is that really me? Am I trying to be someone? No, I'm myself. So these weird things sometimes happen. So if a Pisces male is monitored in who they make friends with and they have someone to talk to, naturally, not that the mentor or adult or caretaker or parent or whatever guidance, you can't lead the Pisces because the Pisces can get even more lost. So being a soundboard for Pisces male growing up, listening to them and saying, oh wow, that's interesting, and no judgment, and then just kind of keeping an eye and kind of like being very observant and gentle with how they express things, and then softly steer things, but don't leave it to their own devices. This is very difficult. This would be something that's very, very healthy for them. In fact, a lot of Pisces males growing up will say, I wish I had someone that stirred me like this or stirred me. It's kind of funny because they know what they needed, but at the time they don't know how to ask for it. So they need to express themselves a lot. They need someone to converse. And sometimes when guy friends are not really going to do that. There's not a lot of talky, emotional kind of stuff. I mean, Taurus goes through a phase that way, Taurus males. But and Libra males sort of. But in reality, you know, there's no one really to talk to about those things unless they have a sister. And a lot of times, unfortunately, a Pisces, sometimes there's a pattern where Pisces males have an older sister. Not always, but it just so happens that a lot of times a Pisces male has an older sister. And it just so happens that that sister knows how to deal with their brother very well, but a lot of times there's this cold divide. And unfortunately, the one person was built into their lives that should be the one that would be perfect, because parents are judgmental. A sister would be stern and protective, which is what they need, but at the same time, someone they can trust because it's a sibling. But unfortunately, a lot of times that Pisces male doesn't have that mentor, because the sister is usually a hard ass and she's into her own world, and she's usually very much an alpha. And she's not, well, you could be an alpha and you could be a hard ass and you could still be there for a sibling. But there's a quality about the Pisces male sister that is just not, they just end up not being there for them in that way. Another thing is this, of course, this does fit the rising as well. You will find this sometimes with a rising pattern also. And so that leaves the Pisces male not really having anyone to talk to, because they're dealing with all this creativity. They're dealing with all of this experimental, I want to discover the whole world. I want to discover myself. And then if they hear things in the media, they could say, oh, does that apply to me? So there's a time where internally a Pisces male can be very frightened. They're very brave in many ways, but in other ways, they can start believing a false narrative about themselves very easily if they don't have the right direction to turn to. And this can set the pace for a lot of things. Some of them will not pursue careers they should. They end up being dreamers. It's delicate. So if you have a Pisces male child, you want to take, and you're into astrology, you want to take note of these things to, rear them in the best direction. So another thing is, when it comes to girls, there's this situation where, like, there's a girlfriend, but the girlfriend will notice how delicate they are, how interesting, and like the soft side. And then there could be this thing where the Pisces male starts to feel infatuated with the fact that she's listening to him like the sister didn't. Like he's being heard, he's being listened to like the mom didn't. Like mom is usually there for Pisces big time, but not in certain ways. And there's just this mentoring hunger that they need, like a BFF kind of thing. And it's not there. And then they see this, the girl likes him, and then he's like, ooh, but she could hear me in other ways. So then he'll start seeing her more like the mentor. And then he'll break hearts at the beginning because it's like, I like you, but I realize that I like you because of how you treat me, not because you are the one I like. And then the girl, you know, is very like crying, and, you know, the whole thing is a heartbreak. And then they start to see that power, and they're like, ooh, I can do that. And then a lot of times they break hearts because Pisces goes through a phase where they like to play games with romance and stuff. And then, yeah, and then it's a lot of times, depending on what his moon is, what his rising is, or if he's a Pisces rising, what his sun is, what his moon is, and where he has, obviously some of the life destinies in the big six, and, you know, other combinations like what decan in Pisces, and, you know, certain aspects and certain things are going to really, really, really just bring out highlights of the life. A lot of times, they will gravitate towards the wrong female choice, but they, you know, some of them have a very lucky life path for love, and some Pisces don't. I would say it's 50-50. I would say about half the Pisces males have lucky love destiny, and the other half does not. And we'll talk more about that because I'm a love astrologer, and that's what I focus on. I do work with a lot of career stuff, but in astrology, it's for romance and love destiny. So that's mainly what my clients come to me for, is love. So that's why, since most of my clientele are females, I want to explain the males of the zodiac in different layers, different ways of talking about the information that is so rich with describing the zodiac signs. So that's why I'm doing the different layers of things for the Pisces male, all right, to understand that. But anyway, that's where it comes from, the series, to help my clients. And I hope this series helps. I'm going to continue with more about Pisces in a minute. So I do realize that many individuals in astrology, many professionals do attribute Jupiter to be the ruler of Pisces. And while that may be true, there's a way to understand the fact that it's really a secondary ruler. And the way that it's really works is that Neptune is the primary ruler of Pisces. And Neptune being so dreamy, I think, first of all, Neptune is, from what I've seen across the board, I've seen it's very misunderstood, especially by noobs. So I do want to shed light on what Neptune is all about, but I'm going to leave that in my planet series, and also the houses. But understanding that it's the 12th and it's Neptune, Pisces is very complicated. And yeah, I think I'll leave the point there. I'll go on to the next point because there's like so much there. So a very cool feature about a Piscean male is that when it comes to romance and love and falling in love and dating and all of that, and getting married, engaged, you know, all of those things, the Pisces male has this romantic overview of this poetic soul, this observing quality, where they can look at a female and say, poetically they look at her, the way they think within their own mind, their own headspace, the way that they're thinking about a female that they are describing. So let's say that this Pisces male has a daughter. He's gonna say, oh, and my daughter, and she really just the way she loves pastries, but she always takes the time to, you know, put like an extra glaze on top. And her you know, the way she does her coffee, she likes to mix it. Or my daughter, she really loves you know, science. She really loves studying science, and I love to see how curious she is with, you know, specimens that she's studying. You know, what I'm saying is they'll get descriptive poetically. You'll see that they have this like innate ability of describing someone they love. So when it's going to be romance, and it's going to be, you know, anything with romance or romantic, it's going to be any amorous connection they have. They're going to describe that female poetically in their head. If it's their kids or their mom or a loved one or a best friend, they're going to describe that person lovingly. If it's their dad, if it's their brother, they're going to describe, they're going to notice little things that are so poetic. So maybe they'll notice these tiny little things that nobody else notices. Like, for example, if a Scorpio is going to pick out, if a Scorpio man is going to pick out and describe a female that he likes, he's going to pick out the things that he's attracted to or that he finds sexy. That's the first thing. Oh, I love the way she wears her lipsticks or whatever, right? So there's that intention. When it comes to, oh, okay, let's take a Sag. A Sag is going to describe the female in a way that he admires her poise. Oh, she looks like this and like this. I love that about her. That's going to be the first thing. With a Scorpio, it's going to be the first thing that is seductive, that he loves. Oh, I love the way she wears this and this or something. But with a Pisces, it's the little things. Like, I love the way, and then they'll fill in the blank with something poetic, something soft, something like, wow, out of all the things you could notice, you noticed that. That's so cool. That's so neat that you noticed that. It's the little things. It's the trivial things. I don't know how to explain it, but anyway, and that can make women swoon. Oh my God, he's just so romantic. The way he just described that, and the way that he just combined it with a movie and a song. And oh my God, it's so poetic that they love it. Love it. And that's part of his charm. And it really is how he sees things. He's really, what's going to catch a Pisces eye is he falls in love with the world. He falls in love with the world. He notices such little things. And then he combines it with something spiritual or something emotional. So he'll combine an observation with something he's noticing, and then he'll express it. And this big sandwich of thought. And it's like, oh my God, how beautiful that came from you. That's like a diamond. Like, wow, the way you think. And that is a charm with every Pisces. Just the way that they see things, the way they notice human behavior with a reaction. They are so prevalent to describing what is abstract and making it concrete. And that's why they're so poetic. So that's, that's definitely Pisces male. So that's a very charming trait. So oddly enough, a Piscean male at some point will, in a way, carve himself out to be the black sheep of the family, and leave his parents kind of like shocked, like, what? Like, where did you come up with this? They live their life with this, like, this understanding that just came from, I don't know, somewhere out there, beyond the sun, where they just feel that they're meant to change their entire lineage. Oh, I'm going to be the one that they don't tell themselves this, they don't say this out loud, but it's just this understanding that they have from somewhere. I'm going to be the one that changes the course of what my family's been doing for all these centuries. I'm the different one. I really, it's almost like, what, you were born this like fancy aristocrat and we don't know this now? Like you came from some other dimension and we don't know this? as your parents, like what? It's hard to explain, but it's almost like they just have this belief they built up in their minds somehow. Nobody told them this. It just appeared. It just formed that way, and they just feel like, I'm the one that's going to. I'm the prince, and I'm the one that's going to really carve the new way in my life path. I'm the one that's going to bring change. I'm the one that's going to do this. They weren't able to do it, but I am. It's like this quest. It's kind of odd, but they kind of feel that, yeah. And it's almost like, so are you saying you're not related to the family that you were born into? No, but kind of. They're not rejecting it, but in a way they're just acting like you have this path that came from somewhere. Anyway, it's kind of kooky. I mean, if you know, you know, but that's something that's very Pisces male. Another interesting factor about a Pisces male is when they're growing up and very, very well on to the rest of their lives, they have this feeling, especially in, maybe like 20s, 30s, but it can extend beyond that. It starts in the teenage years, really. They just feel that divinely they're fulfilling they each, how do I say? It's like they have this feeling inside where there's this destiny they're supposed to fulfill. It's kind of weird, but it's like, that's why they're so relaxed with, what are you going to do? What are you going to study? It's like, oh, it'll work out. Oh, it's what I'm meant to do, oh, it's going to be like this and like this. It's all going to be great. And it's like, okay, you have this plan somewhere. And it's like, yeah, I'm fulfilling my destiny. Like, I know what I'm doing. Worry about what you're doing, what I'm doing, what I'm doing. And it's interesting. This is very Pisces. So any woman that's going to be with a Pisces male, a Pisces male needs his partner to believe in the direction in which he's flowing into in his life. So he's not going to stop and network, and he's not going to sit and be hardcore planning. This ebb and flow of his energy is just all he needs. He's like divinely protected in his mind. This is just go with my flow. And if you disrupt it, then I'm going to cut you out. So you either believe in the flow of what I'm doing or you don't. And if you do, then you are one of my people. And that kind of thing. Another thing I want to point out is a lot of times a Pisces can be a late bloomer. A lot of times they're a late bloomer. Then they have this sense of, I'm not rushed. I'll get there when I get there. One of the things that's important is, if a woman is in a relationship with a Pisces, she better be the one that's more organized. So, we're talking Virgo attributes, and we're talking, maybe some Capricorn in there, some Virgo. We got to sprinkle in maybe some Gemini. There's got to be something organized in that, because Pisces male alone, this is why they attract that kind, because if they attract someone like that, it's kind of, when we get into the patterns of what Pisces is attracted to, at first it's exactly like themselves, but then they start to switch what they're drawn to romantically, and then they go for the ones that have a better sense of finances and stuff. We'll talk about that in a separate section. But the thing is that if you want a good relationship with a Pisces, he's not going to sit there being really good with money. His attitude is, more money will come later. Oh, it'll come when it comes, and it's meant to be spent. It's fine. When other people are going, you have to budget. What are you doing? And him, budget, schmudget, So that's, very important. So another interesting, charming thing about a Pisces is that he can be, I don't know, like, at any kind of social gathering, he's the one that's going to go up to you and kind of tell you the things that, you know, you kind of feel pierced into, like the way that he looks, he observes. He's got this ability to just, you know, walk up to someone. You know, remember that the 12th house is the house of clairvoyance, clairvoyancy. So, like I said before, a clairvoyant is born, and it could be of any sign. So that's not, it doesn't make sense, because then that's like saying only Pisces can be clairvoyant. That's not true. So that's a path, that's a destiny that a person has to have, and it can happen in any of the 12 signs. Just because someone's born a Pisces doesn't mean they're clairvoyant. But that house bestows, where the sun is, that house, or the ascendant, it bestows some of the energies of that ability. So every Pisces has this knack for kind of tuning into somebody, you know, and saying, hey, and then blah, 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 blah. And that person says, wow, like I feel heard. I feel looked at, like, wow, that this is a connection. They're very good with that. They could use that charm and persuasion, you know, very, very interesting, especially, my gosh, if that Pisces has a certain trine, that's some deep stuff. So yeah, another good feature. So Pisces males, they're not known in the zodiac to have super, super masculine bodies. They can. It depends on the moon and the rising. So for example, Pisces with a Sag rising male, we're talking only the males, they can have an interesting physique, nice muscle structure, you know, but yeah, so if it's a Pisces rising, yeah, they could be somewhat muscular, but they're not going to really be known as the stereotypical hot bod kind of thing, in for that male, you know. So just generally, they're just pretty average. Again, you really have to look at, you know, they have a certain interesting brow line, they have a jawline. A feature of a Pisces male is usually, like, their hair's usually quite dark. Of course, they're gonna be blonde Pisces, but there's something darker about their hair, with very fair skin. So dark hair, fair skin. Now, if you take that and you take it to someone who's a redhead, or you take it to someone who's blonde, or someone who's, you know, brunette, or, you know, someone who is, you know, of more of a chocolate or cocoa, cinnamon tone to their skin, a more ethnic tone, no matter what, they're lighter. Their skin is usually lighter. Kind of like the Cancer female. She's going to be the lightest, you know, of the bunch, of the siblings. There's a quality to the male Pisces where he's lighter in his skin tone, and his hair tends to be darker, and the eyes are very interesting too. Pisces have this, like, dreamy haze in their eyes. There's something that's very dreamy when they look. It's hard to explain. I don't know how to explain it really. So this is the Pisces male. The way that they, yeah, just a very dreamy kind of look. And this is with the rising, and this is also with the sun. The moon, not really. That quality is going to be sun or rising only, that you're going to see that the Pisces male look. And yeah, it's kind of like opaque and just like dreamy eyes. Yeah, I would say that. So I covered this in my other video of Pisces. I believe it's on my TikTok feed, I think. I'm not sure. But anyway, I'll go over some of it again. You could usually divide Pisces males into like 2 groups during upbringing, even though I go over the decans. I'll go over the Pisces decan division in another video, but in this one, I'm just going to mention the romantic part. So on one side, they leave home early and become super independent, still maintaining a really good relationship with the mother. And I mean, the father too, but there's like this mom thing. And not like mama's boy, although she'll see him as her little prince, but it's not like that for Pisces male. It's just like a closeness, like I want to take care of my mom, like I love my mom, like I'm worried about her, I want to protect her kind of thing. And then there's this, because the Pisces male mother bond is strong. It's strong. It doesn't have to be the strongest, but it's something potent in their life. It's something very, very, it's definitely there. It's not like a Leo. It's a totally different bond with the mother, but it's very, I would say it's strong and there and prominent. So anyway, growing up, so it's either they leave home early and become super independent, maintaining still a really good relationship with the mom, or they stay at home for a very long time and live at home well into their seasoned adulthood. And they come and go as they please, and nobody questions it, and they make up their own rules, and they'll live in the basement and whatever, make it like a huge thing, or maybe like their own big master bedroom, or they'll be very comfortable in their home and they won't leave. They're just very, very comfortable until of course they get married and stuff, for those that choose to. But it's just like, this is home, and I'm the king of the castle, and or I should say prince, right? And the parents are well with it. It's just, he's doing his thing, and they're comfortable with housing him, and he doesn't have to leave the nest. He's the prize, and that's very joyful for Pisces man, to have that comfortability there with the family. It's his home. And then when it comes to attraction and stuff like that, although this video is not shining a huge light on the romance part, but I'll get into a little bit of it. So a Pisces male, I made the joke on that video where, it's kind of like Stickler's mom in American Pie. That kind of thing is very Pisces male. They go through a phase where like they drawn to the older, sophisticated woman, or let's say the older, well put together female, the career woman type. And it's not to be by age, but it's just to give you an idea, the concept of the character, versus the young, lovey-dovey, doughy-eyed, rosy-cheeked, clingy girl, because clinging makes them cringe. So that's an interesting factor too. But overall, Pisces males, and this again depends on what decan, the purity of the sign, unless it's being washed out and diluted with attributes from the next sign over. I explain in other videos when I'm doing just talking about astrology itself, where the cusp isn't really an imaginary place. Like, it matters, but it doesn't. I do see validity in cusps as an astrologer. I definitely can tell you that it is a real thing. But I think there's a lot of hype to it. I think there's a lot of things that are added to it that are just convoluted and not exactly true and made up. And, but I do see validity in it most definitely. So when you're having cusp situations, or even a level 3, they're moving right into the next sign. So you still have the Pisces potency of all the variables and attributes of the personality, but just not as strong as it is in level 1 and 2. So that being said, the love choices do shift a bit, but generally Pisces are drawn to females that are, male Pisces are drawn to Male Pisces, because there's all kinds of combinations, male Pisces in the zodiac are drawn to females where they are, they would be seen as the outcast of society in the family. So what do you see in her? Oh my God, she has like 3 kids and 2 baby daddies. What are you doing? You're crazy. Another one would be like, oh my God, she's so young and she's already tattooed. And look at her, and she, does this substance, and what are you doing? Or another one will be like, oh my God, she's just a rebel. Look at her upbringing. She's like a wild child, and da 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 da. But that's not what you should be with. So there's this criticism. Like, what? Like, the friends are like, why are you with her? What? God, choose this one over here. She's such a good girl. No, Pisces is going to be drawn to the one that's they're not supposed to be with. The one that's, can bring them headaches. Not always. Like I said, it depends on the moon and the rising and the actual destiny of their love life. But a lot of times Pisces will be drawn to the woman that just completely does a number on their life. And it's like, why? Why would you choose that person? Everyone around you is telling you not to. What the hell? Even your cat or dog doesn't like her. And Pisces, of course, will see this as a challenge. Like, yes, that's the one I want, the one I'm not supposed to have. So, yeah. Anyway, so that affects them, but not always. Sometimes they'll choose the really good girl, but she better be an alpha, and she better be more like, the older woman, or the archetype that they're drawn to. So it's kind of odd with the Pisces male and what they're drawn to. So yeah, I do have a list when I get into like turn-ons and all those kinds of romantic-y subjects, because I do have to have content on that too for those that want to know those kinds of things for dating. But yeah, generally I wanted to sum it up. This is pretty much the Pisces male. There's a lot more to them, but they are very charming, and there's a lot of depth. This is the person to definitely bring on board to create something, or bring on board to, really, really look at things from an angle that usually are not considered. So a creative twist on something, definitely you want a Pisces in the team. I'm trying to think of other things I could put in this video. Another interesting thing I've seen in Pisces males is that some of them are very lucky in love, and some of them are not. I think I said that before, but again, the destiny of the love has to be looked at carefully. Now, I will say this, and this might upset some people, but I gotta say it. I have noticed that in some way, Pisces males, even if they end up super happy in a super good marriage, for those that do, there's always something a little bit evident in their chart where it shows, even if it's just a little tiny trickle, it shows that in some way there's a little unfairness for him. So he's had to give more or give up something for her in some way, if you look at it. So in a way, there's something where they just didn't get the full benefit, unfortunately. So there's something, yeah. But again, you got to look at their moon and their rising, or if the rising is Pisces, you want to look at their sun sign, and then you want to look at the whole chart. That's why it's so, everyone's unique, everyone has their own path, and you can't just generalize everything. I hate that, and not everything can be generalized, but there are a lot of patterns, and I've seen that with Pisces males. So some end up really happy, but even in that happy, there's something a little bit off that they didn't get that was fair to them. There's just a level of unfairness they live through, unfortunately, and they do have to give something up. So for example, one can end up with a woman that adores him in every way, but he had to sacrifice something that wasn't fair for him to sacrifice. So for example, maybe she didn't want to get married, and she was before, and he has to give that up. They're still happy, and it's on a piece of paper, it's the way he sees it, but there's something there. Another one would be maybe she didn't want kids and he really did, because sometimes guys just go with the flow with the woman, but he really did. It depends, but and the only way to be with her was to give that up. Or another one would be her career is what really took off in a way he would have wanted, and you know, he couldn't, he had to, or maybe he had to be with someone, he had to have a certain career and then give up on something creative, because, or he could get with someone who was very spendthrift and then puts him through, you know, there's something, I don't know how to explain it, but there's something about a Pisces male. Some of them end up love miserable, unfortunately, and some of them end up very love happy. The ones that end up love happy, there's always something missing, unfortunately. There's always something that just, you know, and of course there's going to be combinations where a little bit of missing something, they could have a complete health, you know, happy life without it. But it's still, when you're just kind of like, you know, really, really scrutinizing that list of what should be there, yeah, in some ways they get the shitty end of the stick in some way. But that's a whole other thing. They can still, some of them live incredibly happy, lucky lives. It's a beautiful sign. Male Pisces have, I'm going to do a video later on them courting and some of the ways they could be heartbreakers and some of the mind games they play. I have done some videos on that before. If you're interested, probably look to either, if it's my YouTube channel, look in the, it'll be labeled, and because my series are growing, so they could be reorganized later, or you can look on the TikTok and feed and look. I'll eventually have one called Pisces Male, but it would be under astrology at first, and then love astrology or Pisces Male. So anyway, trying to pump these out. There's so much to talk about. If you have any questions, leave them below, and I hope this video helped. Bye.